everyone. Welcome back to another Mosaic podcast. Today, I'm Roseberry.
TMarie.
Shreyaa. Hi.
And so today we are getting together to talk about new cuisines, like trying out new cuisines. We each tried a new cuisine before we recorded, and we're going to talk about nutrition and what food means to us, the flavors we grew up eating, so on and so forth. And just talking about what we knew and then this new thing we tried and how they compare to each other, something new that we learned, etc. To start off, a quick overview. I grew up in America in the South. So I ate Southern food, but mainly in my house, my mom cooked Senegalese food. And then I decided that I would try Persian food, which is food from Iran. Shreyaa, she grew up in India eating more Indian food, but she decided to try Vietnamese food. And then TMarie, she grew up in the North, African-American household. I don't really know what the cuisine is. When you told us about it, there wasn't anything that was concrete. It was kind of just a bunch of words you said. But then you tried Dominican food.
Yes.
Okay. So that's a quick overview. But starting off, let's talk about our foundational understanding of what nutrition was growing up. And then, no, let's just do that. What was our foundational understanding of nutrition growing up? Let's start there at the base.
For me, I feel like I very much so grew up with like the school book, textbook definition of nutrition. So I remember learning about like, you got to make sure you have a square meal and you're getting all your food groups in and making sure you have your veggies, fruits, and protein and grain and all that. And not to say that like we stuck by that totally in my household, but like that was always my understanding of, oh, this is like a healthy, balanced meal. I remember being so mad because they'd say your protein should be as big as your fist, and I would look at my little fist and be like, that's not enough. But as I've grown up, I feel like nutrition as a whole is kind of like more complex because, of course, there's a basic understanding of veggies are good for you, too much sugar is bad for you, duh. But everyone has different ideologies around what's best for whatever your goals are. So growing up, and even now, most of my goals in terms of tradition are around like weight loss and everything, and so that's how I tend to order what I eat and my eating habits, and I make that choice for my nutrition with that in mind. But I also think it's like interesting considering like my brothers, their different takes towards nutrition because it's so different. My middle brother, he's always been, let me not say this boy is scrawny on the podcast, but he's always he's always been like thin and like of smaller stature. And so about maybe 2 years ago, he made like the conscious effort to like, I want to bulk up. And so he was living in California at the time, so I was never there. But like when we would FaceTime and talk, he would like show what he was eating and he would eat so much. And I was just like, oh my God, I don't know how you can handle that. And even for him, he would share, it's a lot. I have to eat so much. But that was the plan that he had with his trainer. And that's how he would eat a lot and then work out. And he's definitely bulked up now. You can't say he's like skinny and scrawny now. Like he's definitely reached the goals that he wanted to reach. But I always think that that's interesting. So I feel like I have a more complex and evolved opinion of nutrition because I feel like I used to think it's one size fits all, but that's not the case. It depends on what your goals are and what also works for your body, because obviously people have different like tolerances and allergies and everything. So nutrition is really case by case basis based off of what you want and who you are.
One thing I found interesting that you said is you were like, nutrition's not one size fit all, which is a really good point to make. I think for me, growing up, I didn't really learn about nutrition in the Western sense of like, you brought it up, like protein's the size of your fist, and they show you that plate that's color coded and this much fat and this much dairy and all that, right? They teach you that in elementary school. But in Senegalese culture, at least from my understanding growing up with food, there wasn't really talk about nutrition. There's not calorie counting or macros talk or breaking down food into what's good or bad. Obviously, there's like, oh, this food is helpful for you. This food isn't. That's there. But it wasn't necessarily a conversation we had often, and I don't really think it was considered in the creation of the cuisines. I'm not sure, I wasn't there centuries ago, but it doesn't seem like it. um Again, most of what I knew about nutrition came from school. And then I think in Senegalese culture, because meals are so communal, eating from one big plate is basically how we eat. That's the function. You show up, you sit on the floor, there's this huge plate, you have all the food on the plate, and then you just sit down and you dive in. And you saying, oh, not nutrition's not one size fits all, it just made me think like there's 8 of us sitting around this huge plate eating, but the food that we're eating is affecting us in different ways, but we're not talking about it. It's just like sit down, eat, hang out with your family, your friends, whoever it is. So I feel like that was a contrast just growing up. The only other thing I'll add is that Senegalese food is influenced by French cuisine and Mediterranean cuisine. It's influenced by French cuisine because we were colonized by the France. We were colonized by the French. And then also it's influenced by Mediterranean cuisine because Senegal is like 95% Muslim. So Mediterranean, Islam, interconnection there. But for the most part, I feel like Senegalese is just communal eating, and it's not necessarily talking a lot about nutrition and how it affects your body. That's something you do on your own as you get older.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, I think I was a combination of both of you guys. More what Rose said, because growing up, in my early years, I remember being told that this is healthy and that I should eat more vegetables, and I was encouraged to eat more fruit. I hated fruits, so I still hate them. Gross. No, you
Same.
never know. It's like you can't open to a fruit and it's a surprise every time.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't like that. So basically, when I was growing up, it was an emphasis on fruits, emphasis on having vegetables, always vegetables, because I wouldn't eat fruits. There was an emphasis on vegetables and saying that this is healthy for you. You should eat more spinach. It's good for you. Things like that. And I think it came from a mix of traditional knowledge and contemporary nutritional science, or whatever it is that they read and understood. I think it was a mixture of that. There was an emphasis on milk and dairy, but you guys saw me when I was a 2-year-old, right? I looked 4. So there was no worry that I wasn't going to grow healthy or my bones weren't strong or anything like that. But still, it was an emphasis that you should drink milk. You should ensure that you don't have too much sugar. Chocolates were bad, sweets were bad, and they were reserved as treats. Um, So that was a general understanding. In elementary school, I do remember, I think I was in the 3rd grade when we were taught about the different categories of food, like carbohydrates, protein, fats. We were taught about protein and fats. And what else is there? What am I missing out? I'm missing out on a few. Anyway, the point is, we were taught about things like that. It didn't really, um, we weren't taught that it should be the size of a fist. That stuff wasn't taught in school. I think it came much later. It came through newspaper articles and op-eds. That's where we read stuff like that. But in school, we were just taught about what we're eating and how we can categorize them. Um, my foundational understanding of nutrition was that you need to have a balanced meal. I don't think I was ever told that you shouldn't be eating something as a general rule. It's if you're vegetarian, and a vegetarian lifestyle can help you. No, you can also be healthy on a vegetarian lifestyle. You just have to eat all of this. Um, and general rules like avoiding fried food, avoiding too much oil, um, exercising before and after food, things like that. Like light walking would also do. I think we learned that from seeing my grandparents and other people who were older. Dairy was emphasized as well. So I think balanced food, leaning away from processed food, things like refined flour or
Mm-hmm.
all-purpose flour.
Mm-hmm.
So there was generally a distaste for refined flour and all-purpose flour in our household, generally in the community, and that's because I don't know why they would say that it becomes like jelly in your stomach. It's a loose translation of what they would say. It becomes like jelly in your stomach. It takes ages for it to digest. It's not good for you. It's difficult for your stomach. It's bad for your body. Later, we realized that it has something to do with processed food, about what's that called? Glycemic index, gluten, things like that came up afterwards. But it was always you use chakki atta, which is whole wheat flour, which comes with the husk. So it's browner and it's more coarse. And we use rotis for that, or we would use rice. Mhm. So,
Now that we talked about the foundations of our cuisines growing up, let's start to incorporate the new cuisine that we tried. So, thinking about the flavors, your base flavors growing up, the constant meals that you had, what did they taste like? Usually, what were the ingredients that were usually incorporated into it? And then how does that differ from this new cuisine that you tried?
In my
okay.
household, oh no, you go ahead. You go ahead,
No, you
Shreya.
go ahead. You go ahead. You already started. Go, 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 go.
So in my household, my dad has diabetes and he does most of the cooking. So a lot of the food we had growing up was kind of reflective of that. So a lot of it like wasn't fried, it wasn't greasy. We would have soul food still, but it was something that we would go out and eat. It wasn't like made within the house, and of course it would be cooked like during the holidays. One of like the staple flavors and like meals that we would have is chicken. Sounds like a stereotype, but it was never like fried or anything. We just have chicken at least like 3 times a week. I said once, I ran it by my mom. She said change that to 3, so I did. 3 times a week chicken, and my dad would like just make it in different ways. Sometimes we would have like little drumlets and legs. Other times it would be like a thin fillet, and he would like bread it lightly and like put it on the stove and everything. So we would have like different types of just like chicken. Also, spaghetti a lot. And in a black household, when spaghetti's on the table, that's the meal the whole week. So the first 3 nights are great. But then after that, you just wish to see the end of the Tupperware container. And then we'd have other things in rotation like salmon, turkey burgers, chicken fettuccine. My dad makes like a tuna macaroni salad, and we would always have veggies. So like we always made sure that there was like a healthy component of our meal. Normally like salad or like a mixed green melody thing. But yeah, so when I think of like a specific base flavor, I don't know because I don't know how to categorize that. I feel it feels just like it's a bunch of things. So that's why even in like the intro, I don't know how to describe like what my cuisine is in a way.
Hmm.
It just feels like a baseline, like it's no name, like these are just like a collection of things. Um, and so when I look at some of the foods that I tried recently, I tried Dominican food. I apologize if I mispronounce it. I did do the Google Translate pronunciation, but it is not in my brain anymore. So I had bacalao. It is a codfish. It's a salted dried codfish. And it's a significant ingredient in Dominican cuisine, but it's particularly eaten during Lent and Easter when meat consumption is restricted on Fridays. But it's also enjoyed year round due to its like flavor and versatility. And then and that came with rice and beans. And then I also had a alca alcaprioris. I'm trying to
Sorry.
roll my R's and I forget what I was supposed to. Okay, wait. I also had an alcaparras, and it's actually not Dominican. It's a popular like fritter in Puerto Rican cuisine, and it's made with a dough of grated green bananas and yortilla, and it's filled with a savory meat and then deep fried. I believe I had beef in mine. So it was a really great meal, but in terms of like the different flavors, I couldn't pinpoint what the seasonings were, but it didn't taste like something I'd normally had. It wasn't spicy because Lord knows I can't do spice, but it was really good. The white rice, it was white rice, but also it. I don't know how like they like season white
Hmm.
rice because I feel like I tend to have it as like when you get like um Asian food takeout and it's just kind of like the steamed white rice. That's how I tend to eat white rice. So it was nice to have like a seasoned white rice as well. Um, and then the beans, I don't tend to eat a lot of beans in my regular diet either. So it wasn't my favorite because I don't think I'm a big refined beans type, but that was also cool. And I think together it was a nice hearty meal, which I really enjoyed. Good hearty meal.
Mm.
Cool. That's good. Do you want to go next,
Um,
Sharon?
yeah, I can go next. So we had to look at base flavors growing up. I predominantly grew up in eating South Indian food. My initial years were mostly South Indian food with a little bit of North Indian food mixed in. You know, more like actually, I can't say pan Indian. Mostly North Indian food with a little bit of Gujarati or Rajasthani hints. These are states in India. Um, and the base flavors were a combination of sweet coming from coconut, jaggery, which is basically sugar, unrefined sugar made from sugarcane or palm sap, heat from chili, dried chilies, dried red chilies, the ones that I think I've seen that Mexican food also uses it. I may be using the wrong word, but I've seen that they use it as well. And dried black peppers, chili powder, green chilies, and then spices like cumin, mustard, coriander seeds, tamarind for tanginess and a little bit of sourness. This is a combination of all of these are almost always present. And uh, going to an Indian household without these ingredients is, I'd be surprised. I'd be like, Angrez! How do you not have these things? Angrez means English person. A literal transliteration of what I said. So these are the base flavors I grew up, and it's usually a broth or a lentil stew sort of with vegetables would be one ingredient, or it would be mixed with vegetables, and that would be the main thing with a savory broth like rasam with rice and vegetables, lots of vegetables. Usually, at least one vegetable would be there in addition to whatever vegetables you would add to the stew. With yogurt, which is what I always like. And I loved eating this. I loved it. I don't need anything else. If you give me this, I'm happy. In fact, there are days when I go out, I eat, and I come back home and I'm like, I'm hungry. Not for food because my stomach's full, but I want to eat something homemade, home-like
Mhm.
to satisfy myself. It's a very mental thing. Um, so this time I tried Vietnamese food, and I found that it was the base flavors were different. I mean, they were using spices, a lot of spices, but different spices. More spices that I would see in, let's say, the northern part of India, or spices that we would use in biryani, or when we're making spice water. They had, like, I didn't look up the ingredients before I tried it. I ordered a pho. Am I saying that right?
I love pho.
I ordered a vegan pho.
Mhm.
And some of the ingredients that they had in there were, they had this broth and then they had steamed vegetables with tofu. I'm vegetarian, so I couldn't get the regular one. So I don't think this is the most authentic representation of the flavor profile because I know they usually use a chicken broth or a beef broth
Mhm.
as the base. This was probably vegetable broth or a mushroom broth. Um, and along with that, they had bean sprouts, lemon, and I think chopped jalapenos. Those were the condiments on the side. I asked them to add sriracha to the broth so that it had a kick. Didn't do much, but it was nice. And I was really surprised by how light it was. Even though it had noodles in it, it was really light. The vegetables were really light because they were steamed, they were cooked to perfection in the sense that they weren't too overcooked or mushy. They were perfectly, they were, they had a bit of a bite to it, and I loved it. Everything tasted so fresh, and it was light. Even though I was eating rice-based noodles or misidi noodles, whatever it is they call it, rice noodles, along with vegetables and a broth. It all blended really well together and it didn't feel heavy. I was full, mind you. Like when I finished, I was like, okay, I can't eat anymore. I couldn't get through more than half of it because it was really filling, but it wasn't heavy. And I like that. Um, some of the base flavors that I did recognize, and I gave myself a pat on my shoulder when I did, is that I could taste cinnamon, I could taste star anise, I could taste, wait, I made a list of this. I think a hint of soy sauce. I tasted a hint of soy sauce in it, and also cloves. I could taste that. And I was like, okay. And this is when, so I like having rice with broths. I also put a little bit of jasmine. Yeah, I Googled pho. I was like, main ingredients of pho. I was like, yes,
Look at you, a
what?
little connoisseur. You said, that I can't do that. That's cool.
And the funny thing is, I was able to do that when it became cold because I finished having. I couldn't eat more of the rice noodles, but I wanted to try the broth with rice because that usually helps distinguish the flavors a bit better. So I got a side of jasmine rice and I had a spoon of it and I was like, okay, it was cold by then. I was like, okay, I'm tasting these ingredients now. Interesting. So it was like a blend of sweet, umami. It was salt, savory. It was nice. The only thing I would like is a bit more of a kick, a spice kick. In heat, not spice, heat. I would like a little bit more heat, which makes me take another sip of the broth. And then I tried banh mi. Am I
Mm-hmm.
saying that right? Yeah.
Funny.
Um, yeah, that I didn't like as much. Not because of anything else, but simply because one, I'm not the biggest fan of cold food, and the other thing is that I didn't get mayo on it. I think mayo was one of the spread options that they had, and I don't like mayo because I don't like the flavor of mayo because of the raw egg texture, the raw egg taste that it has. It's just I've never liked it, so I avoided picking it. So maybe that impacted the way it blended all together because it was just dry ingredients in that baguette. I was surprised by the lemongrass. I think they marinated their tofu in lemongrass because I got a tofu banh mi and I was surprised by it. And after a bite, I was like, I'm not sure I like this. And then I don't know why. 5 minutes later, I was like, I want another bite. And I took another bite. Okay, this is nice. And they added cucumber, like a long slice of cucumber. It was really good. And yeah, it was lovely. Really liked it. I have always been more of a rice eater, so I naturally tend towards rice. But the banh mi for bread wasn't bad at all. I quite liked it. But I would always prefer the rice based or the noodle based, soup based dishes. Loved it though. Did I answer the question? I think I did.
That sounds good. I
What about
haven't
you, though?
tried.
Sorry, you haven't tried?
I haven't tried banh mi before, but I've
Hmm.
I've really wanted to, so I'm gonna have to check it out.
Yeah, and they add. I think they add sliced pickled vegetables as well.
Mm-hmm.
That adds a really nice flavor to it. I think it was radish. I'm not sure. It was this white, translucent strand of some vegetable. Yum.
Hmm.
Banh mi is really good, but I would always have sauce with it. But I'm also not that big of a, or growing up, I wasn't that big of a sandwich person. Banh mi has grown on me for sure. But I don't know if I would try a vegetable or a vegetarian banh mi, and I don't know if I try it without sauce. Like it's very, I don't know. I don't know how it would taste because a lot of times the meat shines a lot. I'll try it one day though, a vegetarian
I think
one.
definitely try it with the sauce. It does come off a little too dry without it. I agree with you.
Hmm. You, especially because of the bread. Like the bread is, it's real thick. You
It's
need something
dense.
to break that down. Um, so for me, the flavors I grew up with were very deep and savory. And it's all built around this idea of like slow cooking. So like mafe and yassa, chebujin, these are all things that you put in you put a bunch of ingredients and seasonings in pot, the pot, and then you just let it stew. So for me, it's not necessarily, you can taste the different things, of course, but it's almost like you blended everything together. Um, and I feel like a staple ingredient I grew up with was rice because rice was kind of the center of everything. You have rice and then you have whatever stew. If you have mafe, mafe is like a peanut butter stew. If you have yassa, that's cooked down onions and chicken, like grilled chicken. And then supakanja is like okra stew. So you have these different types of stews with main ingredients in each, but the process is fairly similar of just letting it slow cook on the stove. And then when you serve it over rice, if that makes sense. Um, my mom likes spice a lot, and there's a lot of Senegalese people that I think love spice, and for them, if it's not spicy, it's not good. So that was weird growing up too, because I'm not the biggest fan of spice. I can eat spicy food, but I don't necessarily enjoy it as much. So I feel like as I've grown up eating different other people's Senegalese food, I've come to understand that Senegalese food, it's mainly just the slow cooking. You can add as much spice as you want. You can add a different ingredient here and there, but the process in which you cook it is what matters, not necessarily what you're putting into it, if that makes sense. You gotta season, of course, like throw some salt and pepper and all that in there. You have to season. I would say on seasoning, we have this seasoning called jumbo. It's like this cube, just dried cube. You can blend it up and you can make it powdery. I don't really know how to describe jumbo. It's like when I was trying to put it into words and I was Googling like different descriptions of flavors, I feel like umami fits. Like it's a salty flavor, like seasoned salt, I guess maybe. Um, and then it's not the healthiest seasoning though. As I grew up, my dad was like telling me about how they make jumbo, and it's basically just like when you make chicken broth, you get the chicken bones and you put it in water and you boil it and you put some that's chicken broth, right? Jumbo's kind of has a similar process of you put like a bunch of leftover food together and you grind it up and then that's like this that's how you make the seasoning. But that's a seasoning that stands out to me. Like when people are like, "Oh, why does this taste like this?" I always say jumbo. You put jumbo in everything. I stopped doing that for the last year because my dad told me again how they make it and it has scarred me. But it's a great flavor if you want to taste it. It does taste good. When it comes to Persian food, I went, I was in Chicago and I went with four other people. We went to this Persian restaurant and they eat very similar to people in Senegal. We got a family platter, so we're all just sharing this one platter, except we had our own plates, I think, because we were in America to make it a little bit more civilized, maybe. Um, but we had a family platter. It was two beef kebabs, two chicken kebabs, onion, tomatoes. We had three different types of rice. They gave us hummus. We had bread, and I feel like I'm missing. Oh, we had a cucumber salad type thing, cut up cucumbers with radish and some seasonings in there. And then we had a plate of, they had pickled radish, cucumbers again, onions again, a different type of onion though. It was a bunch of stuff and it was just all spread out on the table. And I feel like the biggest difference is like with Senegalese food, it's a slow cook, right? You just throw everything in a pot and you let it cook. But with Persian food, it's like you can make the flavors yourself. So I had like two or three servings. So that first serving, it was chicken, hummus, some cucumbers, and onions. That's what I tasted. But then the next serving, I had one of the flavors of rice, and then I took some of the pickled radish, and then I tried a little bit of beef because I don't really eat red meat, but I tried some of the beef. And it's like every bite can be something new because you're picking from different ingredients on the table.
Mm.
It's like they take the ingredients, they cook it that way, and they give it to you. There's not that much manipulation with the ingredients, I would say. Um, so that was nice. I actually really like that. I'm familiar with Mediterranean food, but the stereotypical ones that we see here, like gyros and we also have shawarma in Senegal. That's the other thing that gets confusing because there's a lot of Mediterranean food that's Senegalese as well. Like we have um, samosa, which is like the triangles. We have
Mm.
shawarma. We have nam. Nam is egg rolls though. That's more Asian. But we have all these different aspects that influence Senegalese cuisine, but it's a slow cook. You can't necessarily just have the natural ingredients on the table like when I was eating Persian food.
Mm.
As for flavor, with Persian food, it was very it was very bright. Like I don't really know how else to explain it. I feel like with Senegalese food, it's fairly heavy. It's so savory, it's heavy, there's so much into it. It's a stew, it's thick, and you're always eating it with rice. But with the Persian food, it felt very aromatic and bright, and there wasn't necessarily a dominating flavor, again, because you could mix it yourself, which was nice. Um, but yeah, that's the best. I think that's the biggest difference between the two. I think that Senegalese food also it kind of soaks. It's like the rice soaks things up, you know? It's not separate. It was just weird. I was like, I wish I ate like this growing up where I could taste all the different ingredients instead of all the ingredients just being blended together, metaphorically
Mm.
speaking. Um, but yeah, that's what I would say. I
Wow.
think that's all I have to say.
That sounds really good.
It was delicious. Truly, I need to find a Persian restaurant here in Raleigh. But from there, we've talked about base flavors, we've talked about base flavors within our own cuisine growing up, and then base flavors and ingredients within the new ones we tried. So now I kind of want to pivot more into nutrition again and talk about this idea of healthy eating. Growing up, do you feel like the cuisine that was dominant in your life was healthy? do you feel like there were healthy alternatives within that cuisine? And then what about the new cuisine that you tried? I know we all only had like a little bit, but based off of what you were introduced to, do you feel like it's a more healthy, a healthier cuisine than what you had growing up? And then do you feel like even the cuisine growing up, the cuisine you were eating, do you feel like there's a healthy alternative if it's not healthy?
I think compared to the Dominican food I tried, um, what I grew up eating was more healthy just because, as I mentioned, like my dad, he was health conscious. And even like with the seasonings, very low sodium growing up. We would have like Mrs. Dash table blend and like garlic powder, onion powder, um, the basics like that. So we kept it very low sodium in our household. Um, but with the bakalu fish, it's like it's a salted dried fish, so there's a level of like salt content and like high sodium, where
Mm,
they said it could be, I in my research they said it could be a part of like a healthy diet, but you just have to be mindful of like the sodium intake. um but there were some like health benefits because like codfish in general is like
yeah.
a good protein. You get the good omega fatty acids, and
Hmm.
it's naturally like gluten free and stuff, so it's like it's good, but it's like the salting and then the desalting process that kind of makes it a little, you got to just be careful with how often you eat it. And with the rice, I noticed I chose white rice. There was an option to get yellow rice, and I don't know if this is common in like Dominican culture if they do brown rice, but brown rice wasn't an option. So that was just one thing I noticed.
I don't know many other cuisines where brown rice is like a big option.
Is that more like a Western American thing that we do brown
Maybe
rice?
I
Hmm.
because you said that I'm thinking about it. I don't know many other cuisines where brown rice is what they serve. It's usually white rice or like a seasoned rice.
Makes
You might
sense.
also find blends of different types of rice. There'll be I think in Thailand you might have the purple rice blend,
Yeah, I've seen
Hmm.
that. Yeah.
which is basically coarser grains, just not brown. As in, it's different types of grains. In South India, there are certain states where you get bullet rice. I think it's red rice.
Hmm.
Um, it's actually pretty good for health, but it has a distinct taste, so it doesn't go with everything. And it takes a while to get used to it. It's not bad tasting; it just takes a while to get used to it. So brown rice as a staple replacement, I think, is a Western thing. But I
Yeah.
think each cuisine has its own variety of rice. Modern agriculture has made it that white rice is a predominant choice, but historically they should have different types of rice. Why are we talking about this?
You just went into a deep dive about rice. I was gonna let you have it.
You were helping me.
My
You were
bad.
answering a question for me, and I thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for letting me have it, Rob. I love food. All right. Do
Healthy
you want
food.
to go or should I? Healthy food. Oh,
Did I go?
did you? No, not yet.
Oh, I thought I went. Okay, no, but you can
You
go.
did mention something about about heavy food, but you didn't mention healthy yet. I
I,
can go
I
first and
literally
then
thought
you
I
can.
answered the question. No, you're good. I'm just delusional.
Um, okay, so I'll start by saying that I do think the food that I grew up with was healthy, and essentially it came down to proportions in the sense that if your meal, if the entire idea is rice should not be more than this much, I think,
Hmm.
on your plate. So if I keep the rice this much and I have like a bowl of stew and I have like vegetables, huge size serving of vegetables, or maybe even a double serving of vegetables with yogurt or whatever it is, that meal is pretty balanced and it's good because the food that I grew up eating was not oily. The only oil that we would use is when we're tempering, where we take like a teaspoon of coconut oil or any other oil, and we temper mustard seeds in it or curry leaves in it, and then we pour it over our vegetables with coconut or over our lentil, over the sambar or rasam. So that was it. We didn't fry as much. That wasn't something that we did a lot. So I think the food that I grew up with was healthy. It was about the proportions. And I also think that you need to food needs to adjust to the lifestyle that you're leading. When you had a lifestyle that was more labor intensive, physical labor intensive, it makes more sense to have huge portions of rice. It doesn't make sense to have the same portions of rice when you're sitting on a desk the entire day, or when you aren't having as much physical activity as, let's say, your previous generations did. So that adjustment comes with time. Also, the general idea of how much coconut to use, because um, for some reason, I feel that Indians are predisposed to cardiovascular disease. And when you consume coconut the way we do, you need to make sure that it's used as tempering and as a flavor and not as the main ingredient. It
Mm.
shouldn't be coconut with vegetables. It should be vegetables with the taste of coconut. I think that's when you switch it up a little bit. Um, Now comparing that to the cuisine I had, because I've only had vegan banh mi and vegan pho, I cannot say what the general cuisine is like. I do not know. But from what I could taste, it tasted healthy. It didn't look oily. It tasted like it was balanced. I'm not sure about how much protein I was getting from that vegan serving, so I'm not sure of how balanced it was, but it tasted pretty healthy. In the sense that if I could modify it a little bit to make sure that I was getting enough protein, that meal would have been perfect.
Mm.
I think it might have been a little high on sodium, but again, adjustable stuff. Perfectly healthy. And I can't really make any huge statements about which was healthier. I guess one, because it comes to preference. Two, it comes to your familiarity with the cuisine. And I don't have that kind of familiarity. Based on what I've eaten, yeah, it's healthy. But I think both can be healthy.
Fair. Um, Similarly to Senegal, or wait, sorry, similarly to Indian food, South Indian food. I think portions, I think portions is a big problem in Senegalese cuisine. Like I said, we sit down and we share the same plate. So this whole aspect of like portion control isn't necessarily taught. You just eat until you're full instead of understanding how much you should eat of what's best for your body, what your body needs. And so I honestly don't think Senegalese food can be healthy. I guess you can make anything healthy if you use substitutions, but like I said, the process of making something Senegalese food, from my understanding, is the slow cooking of it. It's by default, there's a lot of oils involved. It's very heavy. There's some fried elements at times. And even food where it's like healthier, like there's this dish called potipois. I don't know if it's originally Senegalese or if there's some French influence, because it's a French um name, potipois. It's little peas. It's peas, onions, potatoes, and chicken. And in a good portion, that's fine. Like that's a fairly healthy meal, but there's a lot of oil involved when it comes to cooking the meat. There's a lot of oil involved when it comes to breaking down the vegetables and incorporating it into the flavor. It's a very heavy cuisine, and I don't think there's enough healthy options available. There's some individual dishes that can be healthy. Um, I think it's called firid, which is just like fish, like basically fried fish. My mom bakes it now, but like you bake the fish and then it's a bunch of lettuce, like a salad, some cucumbers, tomatoes, and then a little bit of fries. Like that's healthier, but even then the process of cooking the fish, the oil that is used, even the form of cooking, like frying fish, it's not the healthiest thing. And then the portion control. You already aren't cooking it in the healthiest way. Then you're all sharing food on one plate and you're not controlling the portion that you're eating. Everyone's just going at it. We don't eat in a big plate anymore. I think we stopped that around the time I was in high school. Um, we started eating on individual plates, but that's also around the time my mom stopped cooking Senegalese food. She still
Mm.
cooks it, don't get me wrong. She still cooks Senegalese food, and if we ask, like I talked about it in another podcast episode, but Gudban's my favorite. Like I love Gudban. So if I ask her to make Gudban, she will make it. If we ask her to make children, she'll make it. But for the most part, growing up, we didn't really care for the rice and the stews. We didn't like that. She would make it, we'd eat it that night, and then we'd have leftovers, but no one would really touch it. So she stopped making it so we wouldn't waste the food. Um, yeah. And then we also played volleyball, so I think like you're so active, you're moving, and then you're eating something oily that it just doesn't feel good afterwards. Or if you eat it beforehand, like it doesn't feel good. You just feel heavy and sick and greasy. It's ugh. Um, Great food though. It's just not healthy. As for Persian food, I think for Persian food, what struck out to me was that it presented itself as a very balanced meal. You had your vegetables, you had your proteins, you had your grains, you had all the different things that they teach you in elementary school about portion control. You have all the different things on that plate. Your fistful of protein, you have your 10% oils, all this stuff. Um, and so it presents that way. I don't necessarily know the process of cooking it, but even I can speak to the vegetables I ate. Those were vegetables they cut up in the kitchen. They put some salt, pepper, a little bit of vinegar, oil, some cilantro, and put it on the plate. There was other seasonings as well, but it was a very natural presenting dish, very natural presenting food. Um, it was fresh. That's why I said it was very bright. Like after I
Mm-hmm.
ate, I was kind of full, but I didn't feel like, ugh. What is it? Lethargic? I didn't feel lethargic afterwards.
Mm.
Um, I think that I don't know Persian food again. This is the first time I had it. It was that family platter with a bunch of stuff. But from my understanding of it, it is a lot of healthy food just coming together and you pick what you're eating so you can control the portion that you're eating. While in Senegalese food, it's already put together for you and you can't necessarily control the portion as well. Um, Again, I think anything can be made healthy, but I don't know many people who make healthy Senegalese food. Like it's not Senegalese food isn't the most popular thing, right? Like it's a very specific thing. You don't have a bunch of Senegalese restaurants all that's everywhere. My uncle in Belgium, he makes it fairly. He made chew. Chew is oily, okay? If you eat chew, the bottom of that plate is just straight grease and oil, the entire thing. But he made chew that was not oily, and I don't know how he did it. I truly don't. It tasted good. I didn't feel lethargic after. It's probably because he lives in Belgium, and Belgium is a fairly healthy place when it comes to cuisine. So it's possible, it's just not common. And I don't know how to make that common because I don't like cooking. I can cook, but I don't like to do it. So it's not going to be me who makes it more healthy. Moving forward, let's start talking about the cultural aspects of food, not necessarily the flavors and the ingredients. We already talked about that, but more so what does like the cultural perceptions of food and what that represents for you guys growing up and then this new cuisine that you tried. How do you feel like your cultural perception or understanding of what food was, how did that impact your willingness to try new foods? Because I feel like I grew up with a lot of people who didn't want to try new food. Or it was like new food was like, ew, no, no, thank you. And I feel like that's a cultural thing in America, at least in the South. Trying new things is like exotic. It takes a lot of bravery to do.
Growing up, I noticed that because of the lifestyle that I chose, my family leads, that they were hesitant to try new food. In fact, they were hesitant to try food that was not made at home, or even made at home that was not something that they ate traditionally. Um, and because of the way they are, because of the way they were, not now, right now, they weren't, they would also make their distaste and displeasure very evident on their face. So it would be like, "Ugh," or they'd be like, "Ugh, keep it away from me." They would do things like that. And the thing is, you learn that stuff as a kid. I learned that a little bit, but that changed. Um, because then I realized that if I'm eating this because I like it. Now, when somebody else looks at my food and makes a face, I don't like it. So why should I do the same thing to someone else? Because they also don't like it. It's something that they like eating as well. And this happened early on. Maybe I was in elementary school when I realized it. But I was still stupid. And the thing is that I don't think it came out of malice. It just came out of the idea that from that sense of austerity that they came with. In the sense that they would never do it outside people, they would only do it to people in the house, within the household. I
Mm,
didn't know that as a child. I was stupid. Children don't realize that adults have different reactions when they're inside the household with their family and outside because they want to show respect outside, and that they know that it's insensitive and rude and wrong to do it outside. At home, well, no rules apply at home. You can be however mean you want with people at home or something like that. I don't know what it was. But I remember this when I was in the sixth grade. I was sitting next to this boy who brought something really interesting in his lunchbox, and he called it papad sambar, which is basically I don't know if it was different. It was something I'd never tried. And I was like, what do you mean papad sambar? And I was asking out of curiosity. Obviously, I didn't realize how he was receiving it, right? What I said came off as very rude. It came off as very disrespectful. Poor kid started to cry. And I was like, why is he crying? I don't understand why he's crying. And it took me a couple of years to realize why he was crying. No, he complained about me to the class teacher, and the class teacher yelled at me. All of that happened. But it took me a while to realize that maybe I shouldn't have said it that way. Maybe you should have said, hey, can I try some of that? It looks very nice. Rather than saying, oh, what is that? Like, so initially hesitant, but later curiosity got the best of me because I'm a.
Mm.
For me, I don't really know. I am very adventurous when it comes to food, but I also don't know where that came from because my family, they are kind of, they will eat what they know as well. Like they're kind of like hesitant to branch out. Um I always like to joke and say you guys don't have a refined palate the way I do. But my brothers are starting to branch out a bit more, but my parents are still kind of like, no. The most I was able to get them to do was like Korean barbecue, and that's a win for me. So I don't know exactly where I got my adventurous side from when it comes to food because my family wasn't entirely like that. But I will say sometimes because I didn't grow up exploring a lot of food, I tend to shy away from it just because I don't know how to order. Like I remember the first time I went to Chipotle, I was in college because I was like, "Oh, I don't know how to order there. Like I want to try it, but I don't know what's good." I think I did something similar with kava. I think I asked Rose like, "Oh, what should I get?" Because I want to try it, but it's like I just don't know, like
You do
what's
it a
good and
lot.
what I should try. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always would love to try stuff. Like if you introduce me to a new food, like I will try anything at least once. I will say I draw the line at if I can still see like the eyes or something on some. I had crawfish one time. I was and then I would eat. Like I something about that I can't and bugs as well. But yeah, I'll try anything once. I've had escargot before. Um so I don't know where that came from, but that's just me. And um yeah, did I say everything? Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that was the whole question.
So then why did you pick Dominican food? Do you feel like Dominican food was still adventurous but safer?
To be honest, because of where I am, it was more the options of what I could get.
Mm.
That was more so what influenced it. And from what I have around here, I've tried a lot of stuff. So I was like, I want a completely different cuisine because my parents actually coincidentally got Chinese food last night. And I was like, well, let me see if there's something on here I haven't had that's different enough. And then I was like, no, I've kind of had everything. And let me just find a whole different cuisine because I've had Americanized Chinese food a lot.
Hmm.
So yeah, it was more the options that influenced picking Dominican food.
That's fair. For me, I've said this before, eating is just a communal thing. Like you sit down together and you eat. So I've never really shied away from trying new things. I also love food. Like, I think one of the best things about living is the fact that we can eat 3 times a day, sometimes more, every single day. Best thing known to man. Um, and so for me, I never shied away from new foods. The biggest thing was a matter of like eating with others. I think when I got to college, like I never ate alone until honestly like 2 years ago, maybe. I always ate with someone. If I ate alone, quote, it was like I was home alone and I was just watching something and eating. But if I could eat with others, that was the choice. And so I feel like when it came to cultural perceptions of other foods, I didn't mind. Like, put anything in front of me and I would eat it if we're doing it together. Like, it was more so the experience that mattered than the food that was on the table. Um, I'm allergic to shellfish. Well, I'm honestly allergic to seafood. Like, I can't eat octopus or squid or clams, oysters. Like, it's not just shellfish. But I'm allergic to seafood with the exception of fish. And then I'm weird on texture is a big deal to me. Like, if something feels weird in my mouth, it's hard for me to eat. Um, but other than that, I was fine. Put it in front of me, let's eat it together, and we're good. I think that Persian food was very similar to Senegalese food in that way, because again, we were having like platters, we were all passing plates to eat together. So that wasn't really different or weird. But then sometimes, no, actually, I think it's just American culture where this this aspect of not eating together is a big norm because Italian you eat together. The Asian culture, a lot of Asian cultures you're eating together. But I feel like growing up in America, like I would have friends who would just they'd be like, "Oh, come, I'm gonna have go eat dinner." I'm like, "Okay." And I show up and it's literally just them eating their dinner. Like their family's doing other things, they're not eating. But with my family, it's like, "Oh, Ami and Nate get out of practice at like 9, we're gonna eat dinner at 9." As we got older, it kind of shifted. We still ate together. We would eat in like smaller groups, but it was a matter of being considerate of eating with someone, not just showing up like, oh, I want to have dinner now, I'm gonna eat dinner now, and I'm gonna leave. Or the TV dinners, like everyone gets their dinner and you sit in front of the TV and you're watching something. That was just bizarre to me. I have tried it, not my favorite thing to do, um, but I have tried it. I've tried different forms of eating. I preferred the communal aspect of eating together. No cell phones, no nothing, just sitting there talking with each other.
You
That's
know, that
nice.
reminds me, as a kid, when it was just me, my mom, and my dad, we didn't eat on the dining table. What we would do is we would get newspapers and then we'd take a new old newspaper, spread the newspaper out on the floor, and then put everything on the floor on the newspapers, and then take our plates, sit in front of the TV, serve each other, and create our little mini table there on the floor and eat together. We'd always do that. Sit together and eat.
We we eat on the floor too. That's the other thing. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
nice.
It was one of my childhood memories. Sorry, you're saying something.
No, you're good. I think we used to eat together more when well, yeah, I guess everyone was younger, when like all my siblings were still in the house. Now I'll be honest, sometimes I disappear into my room during meal times, and then sometimes my parents will eat earlier than me and then I'll eat later. Um I don't know why. Sometimes we'll make efforts to do like Sunday dinners, and that's like a formal, okay, dinner's ready, set the table, and then we all sit around and then we'll eat together. But yeah. I think sometimes I miss it, but also I think once everyone wasn't living at home anymore and like someone was out at grad school, someone else was in California, someone else had their own house, like it just kind of yeah,
hmm
the
I
norms
mean,
just kind of changed.
I would say that's similar to us. Like yesterday when we were eating lunch, we are all like, okay, how do I explain this? Ami ate her sandwich before I ate my sandwich because I wanted to heat my sandwich up. And then my dad waited for my mom to come home from work for them to eat their lunch together. It's not necessarily as structured as it used to be where we would all just sit and eat. Um, but now it's like you're finding the little pockets of eating with people, and we don't eat in our room. Like that's not a thing. Sometimes my parents will eat in their room, like if it's late and my sisters have friends over or something, like they'll just eat in the room if they're sick. But eating in the room is not a thing. Like maybe snacks, maybe. But if I wanted to have dinner, I would go down and eat dinner. And while I'm in the dining room eating dinner, people are in the living room or someone's in the kitchen or someone's in the back. Like you have to bump into each other to when you're eating. Is if that makes sense. Like it's not as structured before where we were waiting, but now because now we're all grown and whatever. But it's still a place. You go to the dining room and you eat there, and then there's people. There just happens to be at least two people down there.
Interesting.
Shreya,
Mm,
cultural
I
perceptions
answered
of
the
food and
question.
trying new food. Oh, you did. Oh, moving into our last question, it's going to focus more so on what is the intersection.
Action.
Intersection?
Okay. So moving into our final question, this question focuses on what intersectionality, what the fuck? What the fuck? Intersectionality. I say it all the time.
You said it right, didn't you?
It got caught in my throat. Even if it didn't sound like it, it didn't feel right. Okay, moving into the last question. Now I sound sad. All right, here. So, moving into the last question, this one focuses on what intersectionality between cuisine and blank stands out to you the most, right? So, cuisine is a part of a culture, but it intersects with different aspects of culture. Like we've been talking a lot about cuisine and health, and that can also be like physical health, like what's the intersectionality between the two? So, intersectionality between cuisine and blank. What's that blank that stands out to
So I
The
have
two things. Sorry, go ahead.
No, no, no. I'm sorry. You go because I went first last time. You got it.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I think we spoke at the same time. I'm sorry. Um, I think the intersectionality, two things: intersectionality between food and health, not just physical well-being, which is something that everybody talks about, but the mental well-being aspect of it. Not just with eating, what you eat and how you eat, but also the cooking and preparation aspect of it. It affects your mental health, and it's subjective. Um, but I also feel it ties into spirituality. Personally, these are connections that matter to me the most, because I've always found that food helps me think when I'm overwhelmed. It helps me calm down when I'm anxious. It helps me process things as well, and I like that about food. When I'm saying all of this, I'm talking about making it, not just eating it. And spiritually, I've noticed that when I eat certain kind of food, I feel calmer, I feel lighter, I feel healthier, and that helps me think and connect personally. Now, on a societal level, food is also associated, or rather, the entire arena of food and making of food, the kitchen, is associated with labor, it's associated with gender politics, gender hierarchy, and in some cases, women, subjugation of women. When I saw this question, it reminded me of this movie. It's called The Great Indian Kitchen. It's a Malayalam movie. It's been remade in multiple languages. It's the story of a lady married into a very traditional family, but she's a modern woman. And her entire life in that house revolves around making three meals a day. And it makes her life living hell. Not just because she's making food, that's not the point, but it's just the connotation that it holds to some women or to some people who have no other option. And then it no longer is something that you do out of joy and out of love, but something that you're forced to do as a tool of oppression. So I think these two things stood out to me.
Hmm.
Good point.
That's interesting. Um, the I had two as well that when I was thinking about I thought were really interesting. So the first one I thought about was like the intersection between cuisine and sustainability. Um,
Mm.
especially because I feel like I've been thinking about the state of the world and everything and just like with access to certain food and everything. Um, and so I was really thinking about like the farm to table movement that has kind of been happening a lot, and where there's like prioritization of sourcing from local farms and producers, and the long distribution chains and everything are getting like kind of disrupted now and everything just because of our administration that's in power right now. And so giving more thought into how my my access to food and like how would that change like what I eat if I did, not saying I have a farm around me, but like if I did, I feel like the idea of like sustainability and how do you be eco-conscious but also like physically still have access to food. I think that has been
Mm-hmm.
something that has kind of been interesting to me. And then second, I feel like um I've also always been interested in like the intersection between food and like psychology. Mainly, like, when I think about dieting over the years that I've done, like, I've done Weight Watchers, I've done, like, Nutrisystem, I've I've done just, like, a whole bunch of different diets, and I wonder how that influences, like, my relationship with food, um, and how I need to craft, like, certain behaviors so that I can have a healthy relationship with it, so that I'm not at the point where it's like I eat when I'm bored, eat when I'm just, like, nervous, eat when it's any emotion, eat. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I also think that's very interesting as well, looking at the intersection of like your brain and like how do you think about it and the psychology behind it. So yeah, those are my two.
So it was really nice one.
Interesting. We kind of touched.
And
Well, oh, go ahead.
the first one's super relevant as well. Now the other one isn't,
Yeah.
but the first one is something that is soon going to be a point of immediate concern
Mhm.
for the
Mm-hmm.
world.
We had similar ones to you, specifically when you said sustainability, but in a same thing, different take on it or perspective. I had one answer that led to a second. So first, I was thinking of the intersectionality between um, cuisine and geography because I was thinking
Mm.
about how, for me, eating Asian food, specifically like Eastern Asian food, is often difficult because I'm allergic to the sea. Okay. And they're surrounded by the sea, so a lot of their cuisine includes stuff from the sea. And I was thinking about with Senegal, like Senegal's on the west coast of Africa. It's right at the edge, so they have a beach access. So you can see seafood incorporated into it. There is some traditional food that my mom doesn't that my mom takes the seafood out of because four of us are allergic to seafood. Um, but then I started thinking, I was like, okay, well, if your main access to food is the sea and most of what you eat is seafood, but you're allergic to seafood, how do you get access to other types of food? And then I started thinking about food deserts and the intersectionality between cuisine and finance as well. When you think about different communities that live in food deserts where you don't have access to healthy food, you don't have access to the urban aspect of food. There's like, what is it, urbanization, right? Like the urbanization. Here's an example. I cut down a bunch of trees, I build a sky rise, right? And where those
Mm.
trees were, there you could have
Urbanization.
found other urbanization. Yeah. So like with urbanization happening, like creating all these food deserts, that was also something I find interesting because we're telling people, oh, you can't eat the way you used to because it's not good for your body. You have to eat this way. And you're changing the way that you're supposed to eat, but then you're not giving the same opportunities to those people who need to eat them, right? Think about healthy food when you go to the grocery store. It's so expensive to eat healthy nowadays. And we don't necessarily have access to those foods when it comes to like the agriculture, like we're not close to it. And so a lot of times to eat healthy, to be healthy means to have money in the bank. And not everyone does. And so you resort to eating fast food, you resort to eating processed food, and it breaks you down. So your geographical location, yeah, I think I said that right. The geographical location you're in can oftentimes lead to either a food desert or the privilege of having or being surrounded by agriculture of different types of healthy foods and natural foods. Um, so that intersection is really interesting to me. I don't know if it applies where I grew up. We have a lot of tobacco fields more than um like food. There was just always
Mm.
tobacco fields. But I do know other areas in North Carolina where they're growing corn, and that's a big thing, or like potatoes and stuff like that. And they have access to that.
You know what you're saying? It's really interesting because in big cities in the United States, food deserts are also coincide with redlining of certain districts and
Yeah.
areas from way back when they did redlining for segregation purposes, I guess.
hmm
And the other
It's
thing
food
about
death. Oh,
mm, no,
sorry, I
no,
thought
no,
you were
no, no.
done.
It was no, it was a different point altogether. I thought you didn't have anything to say. What were you saying?
I was just saying food deserts is basically the intersection of public health, economics, and social justice. It's the three of
Yeah.
those combined because, like you said, with like redlining, gerrymandering, stuff like that, it puts people in positions like whoever's creating those systems, right? Usually white men. It helps benefit white men. Oh, I'm going to place this here because then it better accesses me in my community. And then you see those marginalized communities and low income communities where the profit margin is too low to attract a Whole Foods, right? It's like, oh, I don't want to put a Whole Foods in. There's a Whole Foods in Harlem, but I'm just gonna use this as an example. I don't want to put a Whole Foods in Harlem, right? There's not a big enough profit margin. The people who live there can't afford what we're gonna provide. But I'll put a McDonald's, right? So it's the intersection of economics, public health, and then social justice as a whole. Because historically speaking, it's always underrepresented, marginalized communities who are full of low income families where they're not giving them access to healthy food and it creates this food desert. What were you going to say, that other point you had?
Oh, well, it's actually about the other thing that you said where people are growing corn and then tobacco. So there's this, I don't know if this is the same point you were trying to make, but if it aligns with yours in any way. There was this one country that specializes in the production of plantain and tapioca. So every available space of land is used to grow that particular tree and plant. There is nothing else that is available in that area. So their diet purely contains of that starchy plantain. And because of that,
Interesting.
there is a huge nutritional crisis in that particular area. And nobody wants to give up any area of land or diversify, let's say, even half an acre to grow other crops because it would take away from their profits. Nobody would want to buy it. So
Mm-hmm.
their livelihood depends on it. It's a very hand to mouth situation, and there's a huge nutritional crisis there. Children are malnourished, adults are malnourished.
Mm-hmm. It's I wasn't really trying to make a point with that. I was just saying like I was surrounded by tobacco fields rather than cornfields. But if you go somewhere else, you can probably run to the cornfield and grab some corn. Disrespectful because that's someone's livelihood, but you could probably do it, right?
Yeah, you could.
There was actually one more thing that I wanted to touch on because T, you said you eat Dominican food, and the moment you said it, it's something I wanted to say and I forgot. Another intersection is the intersection between cuisine and slavery. Oftentimes,
Mm.
you will see that African food is a huge influence and part of Latin food. There's a lot of food in Latin cuisine that is rooted in African cuisine, right? Like we have bisap and they have Jamaica. It's the same thing. It's hibiscus. You boil it, you sweeten it up, you make it into a juice. Even the use of plantains, like that's a really big aspect of African culture, eating with plantains. That's a big part of Latin American culture. And I think the intersection, or not the intersection, I think the creation of the Atlantic slave trade, obviously we already know there was a lot of cultural erasure there, right? But there's also a lot of spread of culture. We just don't know where it roots, where it goes back to, if that makes sense. So like I've had conversations with a couple of Latin people where I'm like, you do know that like Latin cuisine, a lot of it is influenced by African cuisine. It's like, no, this is ours. That's fine. It can be yours. It's okay. But there is this spread of culture, especially when it comes to cuisine, that the Atlantic slave trade created, which horrible thing, horrible, the slave trade, horrible. Um, However, you do have this beauty of the spread of culture. It's just we don't understand where it came from. Like there's no roots that you can track. So that's another intersection, slavery and cuisine. It's real spread all around. And like fried chicken in Korea. Like Korean fried chicken is so good because there was black soldiers who were in Korea who were teaching Koreans how to make fried chicken. Like it's
Hmm.
crazy. Isn't that
I didn't
crazy?
know
Like
that.
that's why it's so good. You have these black soldiers who are like, this is how we do it. This is how you're supposed to do it. And so now you have Korean fried chicken, which is a staple in Korean food, but it's influenced by Black culture, right? African American culture. This spread of culture, but I guess without the credibility, not the credibility, the, I guess without giving credit where credit's due is also
Mm.
something I'm interested in.
Well, that's a good one. I didn't think about that one.
Thought about it a lot. Okay, that's the last question we had. I will pass it on to T for this segment.
Yay! Yes. Okay. So, moving forward into our segment for today. Today, we're each actually going to be putting together our star 3-course meal plus a drink. So, we're each going to go around and reveal our star meals.
I can go first. Okay. I have dishes from whatever I really like eating, and this is based on my mood right now. Um, it changes all the time. Right now, it's mostly Indo-Chinese
Mm,
food, but another day it could be Italian. Another day it could be Mexican. Doesn't really. So yeah. Anyway, gobi Manchurian from Urban Tadka without garlic. Gobi Manchurian without garlic from Urban Tadka. It's a joint in Dubai. That's the only place I like gobi Manchurian these days. I will only eat gobi Manchurian from that place. Love it. For the main course, I will have pulao with gravy and raita. And I'm not having like normal pulao. I'm talking about palau, the way Kannadigas say it. From this one restaurant that I loved as a child called New Shanti Sagar restaurant. It's shit now, but when I was a kid, it was the bomb. So New Shanti Sagar's pulao with gravy and raita to die for. Honestly, what I would do to taste that one more time. And then for the last course, I would have chocolate mousse without any of that cake nonsense with vanilla ice cream or panna cotta. And with this,
mm,
because we said include a drink, I'm going to have a fresh lime soda, sweet fresh lime soda, or a green apple soda. Monen's green apple syrup in soda. When I say soda, I mean carbonated water. That is my meal. And I'm
Period.
so looking forward to it.
You put thought into that.
You did. Precise. From this place and this place only.
I'm crying. You want to go tea or do you want me to go?
You can go.
Okay. Um, sorry. For me, my drink, I'll start off. I want honey lemon tea from Singapore specifically. Okay. I know honey lemon tea isn't necessarily like it didn't originate in Singapore, but when I was in Singapore, that I had that like 3 times a day. I don't know what they put in that. It must be crack cocaine because I could not get enough. It was so amazing. And when I came home, I tried to make it, but it just wasn't the same. So I want honey lemon tea specifically from Singapore. And it wasn't too sweet, but it wasn't like too bitter. Like it was a beautiful balance, and you could taste the honey, the lemon, and the tea. It was so good. Okay. I feel like we drink Arnold Palmer's, right? The lemonade and tea mix, and we think that's what it is. But no, honey lemon tea is elite. Okay. If you ever go to Singapore, order it.
Honey
Next,
lemon
moving
tea
on.
is something else,
It's
outwardly.
so good. Like I truly need it in my life, and I have not been able to find it since I've been back in America. But that's what, 3 years ago, 4 years ago? Oh, what a sad life. For appetizers, I brought this up again, but my appetizer would be gulban. Senegalese dish, favorite Senegalese dish. It's basically like a soup with grits, almost, I guess. But just a small portion of gulban. Maybe have a little bread on the table. You dip in it, some chicken. Like it's a little. It's to warm your stomach up, open you up a little bit. Then for my entree, it would be a Mediterranean bowl. I really like Mediterranean food. It does not hurt my stomach whatsoever. Most other types of food or cuisines do kind of hurt my stomach a bit. I just have a sensitive stomach though. But Mediterranean food is amazing. Except I don't want the rice. I'm tired of eating rice. I don't really enjoy eating rice. I ate it most of my life growing up. I don't care for it. It's okay. It can be on the side. But farro, that is phenomenal. I had it for the first time in New York and can't get enough of it, truly. So that would be the base. And then I would have some type of chicken. I could maybe do fish, but preferably chicken. A bunch of vegetables. I mean, any vegetable you can name, throw it in there. Any vegetable. And they just need to be cooked down a little bit. Like they don't need to be extremely hard. Like I still want them to be firm, but not like soft and chewy. I don't like that. Like I want it to have its natural form still. And then potato and eggs. That has to be included somehow. Give me a boiled egg on the side, give me a boiled potato on the side, and I'll just switch between the two. As for desserts, y'all know I'm not really a sweets person. So I don't really know. I do like macaroons, but I can only eat like one or two. But I do like the aspect of like in Senegalese culture, when you're done eating, you have tea. It's called a taya. So you'll have like tea and like a cracker or something. So something like that. I don't really know what would be, it would be tea with something, maybe a macaroon, but it would blend. I just don't eat enough desserts to be able to be like, nah, that's in the three-course meal. I don't know. But that's my meal.
Yummy. So for mine, I don't think they should necessarily be eaten together because it might hurt your stomach. But these are just three things or three things plus a drink that I like. So for the drink, Black Tiger milk tea, I just love it. I go to Mr. Wish way too often, but I really love that drink. Um, for an appetizer, scallion pancakes or
Mm.
kimchi jjigae from this place. I'm gonna say it. Calvi Asian Bistro. They have such good kimchi jjigae. It's so good. But either that or scallion pancakes. For my entree, lasagna. I just have been in kind of like a
Interesting.
pasta mood. Yeah, so it doesn't fit. You can see, like, I wouldn't have it together. But yeah, lasagna, and then for dessert, a warm chocolate chip cookie with a scoop of vanilla ice cream. Will
Mm,
do it every single time.
You're so
That's my meal.
simple.
Yeah, very simple.
Like my mouth is salivating right now.
I'm hungry,
Me
Everything we talked about.
too.
Yeah, I don't think I ate
I'm
today.
hungry. Oh my goodness.
but I'm not gonna eat today.
I will eat after this.
Same. Um, Okay, I think that's it
Oh,
for this
all
one.
right. Okay, that segment was fun. But I'll say this, that while we all have different tastes, we have very good tastes. We're all
Amen.
distinct, and yeah. So that's it for today. So until next time, stay curious.
Stay true.
And stay unapologetically you. Bye.
Bye.